Tea Time Theology. My name is Taylor Wilkie.
And I'm Ivy.
And today, our guest is Tricia Thorm. Welcome, Tricia.
Thank you.
We are recording remote today, not from the prestigious Joan Daly Music Room at St. David's on the Hill. We are all comfy cozy in our pajamas.
Yes.
And we're talking about Superman. Specifically, All-Star Superman from 2007 was the original publication date of that story arc. Just to make everyone, catch everyone up if you haven't read it. The story is essentially about Superman. Premise is Lex Luthor has tricked Superman into flying too close to the sun. He catches some kind of sun cancer that over-energizes his cells. He absorbs too much yellow sun radiation, which is where Superman gets his powers, and his cells are dying slowly, and he has essentially a year to live. And this story is about that year of his life. Anybody else have any notes on the story?
No, that's what happened.
Yeah, it's definitely about Superman facing his mortality.
It really is.
And Lex facing his mortality.
Lex Luthor. In doing a little bit of research, I found out Grant Morrison wrote this story arc shortly after the death of his father, which is interesting. If you guys didn't know that, does that change your view of the story at all, since we've already read it?
Well, I noticed that it did make me think about the part where Pa Kent dies differently, right? And where, like we all think that we have endless time and we can all go do all the things that we think we need to do and that we'll have endless time with the people we love. And instead, those 3 minutes, he does something else with those 3 minutes instead of going to see Pa Kent in that field.
He does cheat a little bit. He shows up as the bandaged Superman. I think they have a name for him, though. He's the Superman without an identity. I don't know, but he's got bandages.
Yes, he does cheat a little bit. But...
Yeah, so he does get to spend Pa Kent's last moments with him later in life. But what's cool about this version is that he doesn't know that yet. Superman lives among humanity as Clark Kent, appearing ordinary while possessing extraordinary powers. This mirrors God entering humanity as Jesus. Tricia, why do you think Clark chooses to live humbly among humans and not just as Superman all the time? And how do you think this reflects Christ's humanity in the Bible?
Oh, well, those are two different questions. But I think it's the legacy from both of his parents. I think it's the legacy from his parents on Krypton, who had this hope for the future and really wanted their son to go to Earth and, help that planet there. And then the Kents, right, who were lovely, good people who raised him to care for ordinary folks.
Okay.
I thought it was so funny that, and I couldn't tell if Lois was being real or not, that she did not believe him when he was like, I'm Superman. And she's like, no, you're not, baby. And it's like, wait, what? Lois, he's trying so hard to tell you this very fundamental part of him. And I think that is kind of also what happened to Jesus in a lot of ways, is that he'd be like, no, I'm this guy, is really, I promise. And they're like, but are you kidding? Like, no.
Right. Yeah, the people around him were so clueless. Right.
Yeah.
And fighting over human things when really they needed to be focused on something else.
And maybe that's why he also had to have the Clark side, because he couldn't fully embrace his life just being one sort of way, which is kind of shown in Jesus in a lot of ways, that he had to fully embrace his humanity in his lifetime.
And in this one, in All-Star Superman, I did think Superman seemed really lonely.
Yeah, he's a sad man.
And it's not just because he's dying, right? You're like, here's my special place I go to get away from everything, where there's no one else, no one I can talk to.
Superman has famously said he lives in a world of tissue paper, which is one of the reasons why he stays isolated when he is doing Superman things, because every step that he takes, every breath, someone's watching you.
Okay, staying.
Thank you. No, but every step that he takes, every move, every decision, he has to hold back. If he just took a regular step without thinking about it, he could literally punch a hole through the world. Like, that's how strong he is. So yeah, that's why I think he kind of hangs back. He hangs back from humanity. And I think it's a big deal that he tells Lois who he is in this story. Also, I always think it's crazy that Lois Lane is written as this, like, the number one investigative reporter in the world. Like, she is on top of it. She is like a girl boss in this world. And she has never put together that Clark Kent is Superman.
It's so true.
But I loved how he wanted to share his world with her, right? By bringing her there and giving her the serum so they could spend a day together and she could see what it was like.
That kind of rolls into another question that I have. Imagine, if you will, suddenly out of nowhere, the omnipotence of God was was handed to you. One of the things that Lois says as her powers are fading is she says, like, I can no longer hear the sounds of the rainforest. It must be extremely eye-opening to see all of that. And it even happens to Lex. Late in the story, he sneaks some super serum in his final gin and tonic. I don't know.
His perfect cocktail.
What do you think?
Perfect cocktail.
What do you think Lex Luthor's perfect cocktail is? If you had to guess. No wrong answers, guys.
I'm gonna go with an old fashioned. He's definitely drinking something with like a Scotch whiskey moment.
I don't know. I was thinking a corpse reviver, but I can't even quite remember all the. It's gin heavy.
Hold on, a corpse reviver?
Yeah.
I've never heard of this.
Okay. I'm looking it up right now.
I would Google it, but my microphone is in front of my keyboard, and I have too many wires. I have too many wires here.
Okay. Okay. So it says that it's gin Lillet Blanc.
Which is delicious.
Ooh.
Oh, sorry. Cut that out, please.
No. It's good.
Uh-oh. An Episcopal who drinks? Unheard of.
Yeah. Contre. I'm not saying it right.
Contro?
Fresh lemon. Yes.
Contro.
There we go. Fresh lemon juice and then a dash of absinthe for glass rim.
Ooh, absinthe?
Yeah.
Yes.
Tricia, that's a psychedelic.
Yes, it
And
is.
she was worried. And Tricia was worried about Lillet Blanc.
Yes. It is called a heavier cocktail.
Okay.
Oh, because it revives you from a hangover.
Okay.
That's what Google said, though. Who knows?
Who knows?
Or it gives you a hangover.
What does Gronk say? That's the important thing that we need to know.
Yes. I feel like that's a much better cocktail choice.
Yeah, it really is. Lex kind of says, like, he realizes that the whole world is connected. If you had to guess, and I'm not going to answer this question because this is my show and I get to ask the questions, I don't have to answer them.
That doesn't seem fair.
How do you think that God perceives the world?
Well, yes, in that interconnected way, but in so many more dimensions than we can appreciate. Which goes back to a podcast you had with our bishop, actually.
Which one was that? Was that Quantum Leap? Or was that the Star Trek
It was
one?
it was a Star Trek one. Although I'll have to do the Quantum Leap. I love that show.
Oh, Tricia, do you want to do a whole season on Quantum Leap with me?
We'll see how this goes.
It's only my dream to turn this into a Quantum Leap podcast. Ivy thinks it's a I want it to be a Star Trek podcast. No, Star Trek ain't shit compared to Quantum Leap.
Sorry, Ivy. I took us
No,
down the wrong road.
It's all good.
Well, I think God is love, right?
Yeah.
So then when Luthor sees the universe in all of its fullness, it must mean that he takes in more of that love than he previously had, right? So that must be so hard for him because he's so broken. Evelyn Underhill said, after death, we get closer to God. And for some people, that's going to feel like hell. Like we get closer to God and God is love, and it's going to be a little hard to take at first.
I've always found it interesting, the jealousy. Lex Luthor is kind of like the Joker in this way, is that Lex Luthor's only a bad guy because Superman exists. Like, the Joker only exists because Batman is there. It is shown many times in the DC universe that if Bruce Wayne stops being Batman, or if Bruce Wayne Batman dies, Joker just gets a 9 to 5. And he just hangs out. And in fact, in one story arc, when they actually did kill Bruce Wayne, Joker actually became a hero. Because even though Dick Grayson picked up the mantle of Batman, like, Joker saw that, like, that's not Batman. He's not worthy of my attention. Whoever this Batman is not worthy of my attention. So Lex Luthor is only a villain as long as Superman is around, because he hates the fact that Superman is just a higher power in his mind that he cannot overcome.
But wouldn't he invent one even if Superman wasn't there, right? Would Lex really do all those good things that he says he wants to do? The man spends his time building weapons.
Yeah. I think what's interesting about they feel like mirrors to me, where they both have the same goal and have a different path or road of getting there. Where like because even when he starts to lose his power, like Lex Luthor, not Superman, but even when Lex starts to lose his power at the end, he's like, I could have saved them all. Like that's what he's saying. That like I should have done all this stuff. So I think what's interesting about them, and I wonder, like, if they wrote the comic books from Lex's point of view, is
Mhm.
Superman the villain in his story? I mean, obviously he is, but like, is there a sympathetic narrative for Lex of he seeing this invader coming in, protecting, but also only protecting because he's also causing trouble and bringing attention to the area because they know Superman's there? Like, I just think he's an interesting character to think of as like a mirror
Yeah.
almost.
Like the alien comes to the planet and starts doing good and doing more good than the people who live on the planet. And he thinks that we need to get these aliens out of here because they're doing too much good and we don't like how that looks.
Right.
And not even that. I think like is Superman attracting danger because they like know Superman is there. Like the
Oh,
two
absolutely.
random guys that whose name I don't remember that has that like weird love triangle moment with Lois that like wasn't a real triangle moment.
Yeah, that
Oh
was like
yeah,
Samson.
Samson and Atlas, I
Yeah,
think.
Yeah.
and by the way, that's the Atlas, like the man who holds up the world. That's not
Oh,
like
wow.
Uh-huh.
a random like guy. This is like Samson and Atlas. It's like, yeah, that's Samson and Atlas from Greek mythology.
Oh.
hmm
But with them, like, would they have rolled in there if Superman wasn't there? Would they be off doing shenanigans somewhere else? I don't feel like I'm articulating my point well,
That's
but
okay.
that that's sort of the vibe I'm thinking of.
There's a business author, Adam Grant. I think he's at
Hmm.
UPenn, and he studies how people respond to having a rival, right?
Ooh.
And having a rival pushes you in a way that
Mm.
just doing your thing doesn't, because it gives you something to measure yourself against and something and something you want to exceed. Whereas,
Mm.
only doing it for yourself might limit your horizons.
Very cool.
That's so fascinating.
Yeah, it is.
Mhm.
Like Edison and Tesla.
Or Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa.
Who could do the most steroids?
Yeah, exactly. That was maybe not the best example. Although there was a super serum, so it is related to the themes
Yeah.
Yes.
of this conversation.
Yes. So, so in the story, Superman learns he is slowly dying from solar radiation poisoning, but continues to save others anyway. Like Jesus, knowingly walking towards the cross. How does knowing his fate change Superman's actions, and what does this teach us about purpose and sacrifice?
I don't think his actions change because he knows he's going to die. I think he continues to live in the same way that he's been living. He's more aware of what his legacy is going to be, and he's definitely thinking about his legacy. But his daily activities of listening to everyone around him and seeing if anyone needs help, and I love how it looks like he's being clumsy, but he's actually saving a puppy kind of thing.
Mhm.
Um, just continue every day.
Where do we stand? Just general question, because it just came out. The movie, the new Superman movie, 10 out of 10, 5 stars. Like, cannot recommend more. How do we all feel about the squirrel?
I didn't finish the new Superman.
No, it's okay.
What?
I was kind of bored.
Trisha,
That's fair.
Trisha,
But
you're on.
why?
Yeah,
Why?
Why?
Oh, I don't know. When Luthor was like, "Oh, I'm gonna kill him. I've been studying his styles." I felt like it was
Mm,
just dragging on, and I
that's
wasn't
fair.
interested.
That's fair. I can understand that. It did like take a second, I think, to fall into the world. So I can understand being like, I wanted it to move faster. I really liked it, but also like I was the target audience for that movie. It was like a very consumer friendly superhero movie, which is like what I am here for. But I did like the squirrel. And what was funny is I saw something that like they almost cut that scene because it
Yeah.
didn't do well in test audience. So if you don't know what we're talking about, there's this moment, there's this huge fight, and Superman comes and like picks up this squirrel and like places it to safety and then like continues fighting this huge monster. But what was interesting is listening to James Gunn sort of explain that like that is who Superman is he takes care of everybody. That like it's not that he's just saving like the little girl or the puppy or that it's like
Hmm.
even the squirrel is something that he wants to save. So I do think that shows us a lot about him as a person as well.
We just talked with Jonathan Malone about Batman. I am the firm believer that Bruce Wayne is the mask that Batman puts on. And that's not the other way around. The primary personality is Batman, and Bruce Wayne is the mask for Batman. I think Superman is a mask for Clark Kent. Obviously. But I don't think there's a distinction between the two. I think that Clark Kent is just Clark Kent, and he uses the mantle of Superman to be extroverted about it. Because like you said, he's doing his thing. He's like, oops, I'm so clumsy. But he still manages to save everybody, even as Clark Kent. But he has to do it on the down low.
I think that's right. So then there's this no, what you see is what you get, right? Like there's no difference between how he acts in the world and who he is, right? So in that way, he is, yes, like Jesus going to the cross, right? Like this is what this is what I am here to do.
Like it really bothered me a lot, and this is just me getting bothered by a stupid comic book thing. But when Lois was in the fortress and she kept calling him Superman and not Clark, that kind of hurt me, and I feel like it was unintentionally hurting Clark, because she really couldn't see Clark Kent through Superman, even though Clark, like, he is Clark Kent. Like, if he is not, like, if it goes back to the whole, like, if Kal-El isn't found by the Kents, Superman is an evil person, because the Kents teach him humanity. They see what he can do, and they say, no, don't. You need to slow down. You need to take your time. You need to not hide who you are, but don't show everybody who you are for now, because you're not ready. The world's not ready to see you. It's like, I don't know, did you guys see the Henry Cavill Superman,
Yes.
Man of Steel?
Yeah, where his dad doesn't let him save him.
He said, like, oh my God, so heartbreaking. The tornado.
It's so sad.
And Pa Kent is out there, and he's grabbing people out of cars, and he's helping, and Clark goes to do the Flash thing where he's gonna run,
And grab his dad.
But-
and his dad like shakes his head no.
but Jonathan like holds up his hand and he says, no, you're not ready to let the world see you. I don't know. It's just so heartwarming. Pa Kent is just so cool, and Kevin Costner. Oh my God.
So,
Kevin Costner was Pa Kent.
Yeah.
How fun is that?
Yeah,
crazy.
Kevin Costner and Diane Lane. Talk about a hot Ma
awesome.
Kent, you know?
I've not traditionally been the biggest Superman person, far more of an X-Men kind of Batman girl, but now I'm gonna watch it.
do you think there's any of that sort of like you're not ready yet with Jesus and like when he goes sort of to Jerusalem? Because I always think it's like interesting the timeline because we like pop in and out during Epiphany. He's like a baby and then he's like 12. But like, do you think there's any sort of moment where he's like, the world is ready to like see me as Superman now?
Well, there's one moment where he says, "The world, it's not my time, woman." Right?
Yes.
With the marriage at Cana.
And now we all have to go to school before we get married. And Joseph is, he's descended directly from David, right?
Yes.
Like David and Goliath, David, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, but there's several interesting women along the way.
But I was just wondering that, like, are Joseph and Mary chosen because in the comics, first of all, let's just talk about the Superman origin story for a second, and just recognize that the origin story of Superman is very Moses themed.
Yes.
Very Moses themed heavy. Put on a boat, like Moses is put into the river to escape the genocide. What word do you think?
Pharaoh.
The pharaohs.
Yeah, the infanticide. Yep.
The infanticide, and put into the reeds and found by this woman who is the queen of Egypt or something. I'm not a theologian. I don't know.
Yeah, feel free to correct us.
Yes, jump in and say.
Well, I think, we'll get.
Yeah, I don't know what I'm talking
deacon,
about.
So.
I know what I'm talking about Superman, but.
well, it's so interesting because, so yes, Moses is, sent out into the river, but his sister, arranges it so that Pharaoh's daughter finds him. So your question about are the Kents chosen is Pharaoh's daughter was most definitely chosen to raise Moses. And then the sister, the Pharaoh's daughter's like, oh, I'd love to keep him, but how am I going to feed him? And the daughter says, oh, well, there's a woman in the Hebrew group who just lost her child and she's basically still lactating. So let's bring her in as to be the wet nurse. So they bring in Moses' mother to nurse him.
Plot twist. Didn't know.
Yeah, exactly. Right. I know. I don't think this comes up a huge amount in lectionary.
That's fair.
No, I was just wondering if Joseph and Mary were chosen for a similar reason. Like if Jesus was born to anybody else, he would have turned into a real monster or something. Like just talking about it from a comic book perspective. This is not, I'm not endorsing this as a real theory or anything, but does Jesus have all of the powers that he has automatically, and he just grows into them, and he will receive them at the appointed time no matter what? And if he gets mixed up with the wrong crowd, does he turn into essentially, for the lack of a better term, an antichrist?
Well, I think we do need to go to the special character of Mary. This might be where I'm revealing that I was Roman Catholic, right? But there is a special character to Mary, right? She unequivocally says yes to God, right? And so, and Joseph kind of needs to, the angel's like, oh, actually, you need to do this other thing. And he's like, oh, okay. And so I think having a parent who models that submission to God and loving God and following God is really obviously incredibly formative for Jesus.
I read a book years ago, and it was called The Boy Who Loved Batman, and it's by Mike Uslan, and that's a name that you've seen. Ivy, you've seen it. We've all seen it. Every time you've watched anything with Batman on a screen, Mike Uslan's name is on that project.
Oh.
He bought the rights, the screen rights to Batman in 1975, right around the time, right after Superman, Chris Reeve's Superman came out. He bought the rights to Superman or Batman. And one of the cool things about Mike Uslan is that he used to teach at a school. I'm not sure which one. It was an important one. I'm not going to say it was Harvard or Princeton or Yale, but it was one of those. And he did the thing, and he ended up going for grad school at that school, and he started teaching a class on the religious similarities between superheroes and religion. And he's actually the first person to, and they said, what do you mean? You can't make that connection. And he brings up, and he was the person who I learned the allegory of Superman and Moses. Because Superman was written by two Jews who grew up in New York, and they needed to come up with an origin story. So they picked the best one they've ever heard, which I think is just really cool. And I've always thought that superheroes are a great allegory for talking about faith and religion, because they really put forth the best parts of humanity. What do you guys think?
Yes, I think so too. But I think what gets a little lost when we focus on superheroes is the obligations of everyone else, right? So the superhero is going to save the world. But as Christians, it is our job to act like Jesus in the world. right? So we can't leave that work for other people.
Do you think then the part with Jimmy Olsen kind of showed sort of our life and what we're supposed to do, where he doesn't become Superman for a day, but he does a different job each weekend, and then he has to sort of take down Superman.
I did like that Jimmy Olsen was more mature and not just a comic foil in
Yes.
in
Yeah.
this. But yeah, it did look like they were trying to give him a little more responsibility. But yeah, I was like,
Mhm.
wait, what is going on here?
And there's even a great example in the final issue when Luthor shows up with his with all super serumed up, and he looks at Jimmy and he says, "Hey, can you turn off that watch? Superman's not coming." Instead of doing something himself about this, he is calling for Superman instead of stepping in and being the hero that they needed in the moment. Not that I'm saying Jimmy Olsen should have fought Lex Luthor. I think that's crazy,
Right.
but I guess that you're right. That is the danger of looking to a hero,
Mhm.
or looking to a single hero in our world to fix everything. It's kind of like the like everything happens for a reason. God has a plan.
Oh yeah.
Like, don't
Right.
interfere. Like, this is happening. This
Yeah.
bad thing happened to you because God has a plan. And like, well, why does God want me to be sad right now?
Hmm.
Yeah. Right. And these superhero stories always have such short horizons,
Mm,
right? Like this
Hmm.
is a year in Superman's life,
yeah.
right? So it's not decades,
Mm.
right? There's not enough time to like have serious social change in the society besides catastrophe.
He does do those small things, like you said.
Yeah.
He like
Hmm.
does those small, like he's doing the big things, but he's
Hmm.
also stopping because he hears the therapist on the phone with his client
Yeah.
at the metro station saying, "Don't leave the apartment. I'm on my way. Something crazy is happening. I'm on my way. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna help you."
Yeah.
And he doesn't make it, and Superman is able to stop. He finds this girl and he stops her and he says, like, everything's gonna be okay.
Right. And
Don't
and
do
you
this.
matter. Like
Yeah.
I don't know if he actually said that explicitly, but
Yeah.
definitely the
Yeah.
whole idea was you matter and it's
Mm.
important to the world that you are here.
Mm.
Right. So he did tell her she was a beloved child of God,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Well, and I think there's something interesting about his concept. At one point, there seemed to be like he was trying to figure out who could replace him because he knew he was
Hmm.
dying and like who can replace him. And I do think there's something interesting in thinking that like everyone had to replace him. That like when they had that couple come in,
Yeah.
they couldn't do it. They couldn't handle it. And I think there's something interesting in theology of thinking of like no one disciple could have like replaced Jesus, that they all had to be there. They all had to go out and spread the news to
Mm.
work.
It's like the like in like Trisha, you really should have stuck around because it got real good. The end of the Superman movie.
I'll have to watch. I'll just skip the first third or something.
Yeah.
Superman has to make a choice. He has to either go save a country from falling into war or stop Lex Luthor. And he has to go stop Lex Luthor because that's the threat that's going to do the most harm. And in that moment, everyone on the border of these two countries that are about to fight, one side is holding the symbol, the symbol of the House of El.
Hmm.
And they're hoping Superman is going to come and save them, but then it becomes apparent that he's not coming, and just regular people stand up and they say, well, if he's not going to come, we need to do something. And they do.
Hmm.
And then the Justice League shows up, and Guy Gardner shows up, and like we said last episode, Guy Gardner is the Green Lantern you get, not the Green Lantern you want. But it's just a very moving scene, I think, of these people standing up and using the symbol of the House of El as to push them forward and do what Superman would be doing for us in this moment.
I've been super inspired lately by Lema Galway. Have you seen Pray the Devil Back to Hell?
No.
Oh, that
It's
sounds
about
amazing.
civil war in Liberia.
Oh.
Um, and she led a women's movement for peace in Liberia. And it started because she had a dream. And God told her to gather the women to pray for peace, which she did. And I had to read a book, her memoir for class. And it's amazing. It's like, so it's all about sort of how ordinary people the power of ordinary people banding together and sticking to their principles and demanding peace and saying, really, the way things have been going is not acceptable, and change it. So just like that, but just like your example on the border, but in our world.
Superman ultimately shows mercy even towards Lex Luthor, who has, we've talked about it, who has hated him for ever since Superman showed up on the scene. And kind of like in the same way that Jesus commands us to love their enemy. Why do you think Superman chooses the high road and doesn't kill Lex Luthor just to stop him from being evil? And what do you think mercy says about true strength in a person?
Yeah, I think Superman he wouldn't be Superman anymore if he chose to kill Lex Luthor. Right? It's just, that's why Batman doesn't like him, right? He's the big Boy Scout. He's always doing he's always doing the right thing, and it's kind of tiresome for our vigilante friend. As I said, Superman has no choice but to show mercy, and we believe that mercy is transformative, right? That by showing mercy, you're inviting people into a different kind of relationship, right? And so, and again, that's painful for Lex, because he can only imagine things where you do A and I do B, and this comes as a result. And mercy just, shakes the table and transforms the equation.
That was a great answer.
Okay, good. I'm like,
good.
No, that's so good.
Like, am I babbling?
Good answer. We're like our Family Feud. Good answer.
No,
good answer.
Usually when Taylor and I are quiet, we're both just like, oh, that's good.
That was good.
That was good.
Sorry. I am a little nervous.
Don't be nervous. You're doing great. You're doing great.
It's fun to talk about.
It really is, isn't it?
Yeah.
Superman is often shown bearing the weight of the world. Once, literally, you know how we saw Atlas? One time, Atlas needed to go on vacation, and Superman literally held up the world while Atlas went out on vacation. I don't know what that story is that in, but it happened.
Yeah.
If people want to look it up. Anyway, fixing the sun and saving humanity, like Christ, bearing the weight of kind of like Christ bearing the weight of humanity's sins. Why do we think sacrificial heroes are so compelling? And what deeper need do you think they point to?
I think Superman's actually bearing the weight of two worlds, right? Krypton and Earth, right? Because he's got these values and this memory of Krypton, right? Like barely memory, but he's trying to instill these values that he got from Krypton into Earth. And so he's, I feel like he's sort of always grieving also, kind of mourning and grieving as he goes throughout his life. And then the other half of your question was, why are we attuned to sacrificial stories? Well, I think because we think a great deal about this story about Jesus Christ, we look for parallels. I also think that it's part of our reckoning with mortality. What does it mean? Like, what do our lives mean? How do we make meaning? What happens when we die? So it's bound up in all those things.
Do you also think it's because we all think we would make the same sacrifice?
I think we would hope to make the same sacrifice.
I would like to think I would make the same sacrifice.
Exactly.
No, but I think there is something about it that we're all like, if I was in that position, I would do it this way, or like I would do X, Y, and Z.
But it's never that dramatic. No. Right?
But it doesn't have to be.
No, it does not have to be.
It
really is about how we enact our values every single day.
It can be as simple as stopping someone on the street and just looking into their eyes and saying, you're stronger than you think.
Yeah.
And that's what Superman, and I found it in my notes. That's what Superman says to the girl on the roof.
Oh, yeah? You're stronger than you think?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I've said it before this season, and I'll say it again because this could be someone's first episode. But I like to think God either puts you where you need to be at any given moment, or puts someone who you need in your way. For example, the other day I was having a particularly bad day, feeling pretty like low and depressed, and I was driving down a country road. And the reason I was driving down this back road wasn't because it was off my usual route. I was going somewhere else that I don't usually go after work. And I come around this corner, and it's one of those like really narrow back roads that doesn't have a shoulder. And as I come around a bend, I see a car in the middle of the road that is disabled, and I see two guys trying to push it, but they can't, and they're trying to push it uphill, and they just can't get they just can't get it going, you know. So I see this. I make sure it's safe. I go around them, and I pull into the next driveway, and I run down, and I just slap my hand on the back of that car, and like, we're just pushing. Where we pushing? I don't know. We're pushing, and we're pushing together.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure. I'm sure they would have figured it out. I'm sure they would have gotten there without me. But I think God put me there. God derailed my normal day, sent me down this different path than I would usually never go down, because I was needed there at that moment. And I was equipped to help that person in that moment. And I think that's something that Superman shows us a lot in the small moments, not the big monsters and the world changing events and the, fly around the world in the opposite direction to reverse time. That's not Superman. Sorry, that is Superman. That's not Clark Kent.
Mm-hmm.
Clark Kent says, "You're stronger than you think." Clark Kent stops to save the squirrel. Clark Kent pulls over to the side of the road and helps someone push their car out of the street so they're safe. You know?
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I think being a Christian is.
Yes, but I also want to say God told you to drive down that road, and then God told you to stop and help those people, and you listened.
Mm.
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
And Clark Kent heard that this girl was in trouble and acted.
Yeah.
Right? So
Mm-hmm.
it's a choice we make to follow God.
Even after Superman's death, his symbol in the book, his symbol and his mission live on through Jimmy, Lois, Perry, all the people that he's helped in his time. Tricia, why do you think hope is essential to both the gospel and heroic stories?
One reason is the other choice is terrible. Right? Like, really? Do we want to sit with despair? Right? Do we want to just look at the ugliness all day long? Do we want to act on our basest, most horrible instincts all the time? No, right? Like we said, we want to believe that we would throw ourselves in front of the car to save a child or whatever act was necessary. So that's part of it, right? Is that we are wired for good. And so we need to keep doing it, right? Hope is like a muscle, right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to build it up.
Mm-hmm.
And so, which is why church is, which we get every Sunday, right?
Mm-hmm.
We like Christ has died, Christ has risen, Christ will come again. Right? There's no promise about when that's going to happen, but we always live in that hope. I did some thinking about hope last year, and there's a lot of different ways that we can hold on to hope, right? And one of them is having faith in the consequences of little tiny positive actions that may not seem like much, but I'm worried I didn't answer your question about the gospel.
That's
Sorry.
okay.
You're going to have to edit so
No.
much.
No, we're not. I'm not going to edit any more or any less. Actually, we're not editing it at all.
Oh, no.
I think you did answer the question, though. I
Uh-huh.
think that hope, in the same sort of way that love is, they feel like such large ideas that people forget that, like, love is my mom bringing me a Dunkin' Donuts on her way home.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, that is just as valid as, like, the large, grand gestures. And I think hope functions in a lot of the same way that you're saying. And I think that also we see that time and time again in the Bible where um it's making me think of like the woman who like touched his robe and then was healed, or having conversations, those smaller ones, with Jesus is, I think, what's interesting about Jesus, like as a character in the Bible, if you're thinking about it that way, is that his most interesting stories are not the large, flashy ones usually. They're the small moments of connection and hope and love,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
which is pretty much what you just said. So you answered
Yeah.
our question perfectly.
Absolutely. Like I said a second ago, it's not about saving the world. It's about touching someone's life the moment, like in a moment when they absolutely needed that.
Right. It's about building the world we want.
So, final thoughts, guys. I loved this story. It was a long road to get you, Tricia, to agree to do
I'm
this.
sorry. I
Um,
know. I really wanted to come on, though. I really like the podcast, and
Yes.
I love talking about
And we
Tricia,
can do
culture and the
X-Men.
Bible.
and Tricia, next season we're doing X-Men and
Oh, really?
we're doing Quantum Leap. Me
You
and you.
buried the lead. You didn't tell us you liked either of those. Taylor would have had you on 7 episodes just Quantum
Oh
Leap.
my God, we would have, like I said, this would have turned into a Quantum Leap podcast with Tricia and Taylor.
Yes.
But no, I loved this story. I thought it was done very well. The fact that Grant Morrison was dealing with the idea of mortality and loss during the writing of this,
Hmm.
I think makes it even more poignant than it was. It's kind of like if this is just for anybody who's listening who's a fan of this, but it's kind of like Ghost Story in the Dresden Files. If you haven't read the Dresden Files, definitely go read the Dresden Files. It's great. It's the Superman news story you want to read when you pick up a Superman comic book.
Yes.
You know, Ivy, what did you think?
I really liked this one. I thought structurally it was a well-structured novel. The way that we moved between them. And I, like you said, like this is the Superman I want to read when I pick up a Superman comic book. And I thought that was really fun to get some of these like classic archetypes. And I didn't realize it, I mean, 2007 is not as near, but it's a lot nearer than like the 50s and 60s when
Hmm.
Superman was created. So like
Mm-hmm.
I do think there's something fun that like these universal stories at every time sort of resonate and are exciting to read and care about.
There was a lot of insider knowledge about Superman required to read it, though. I mean, like if you were well um, acquainted with the world of Superman, you would know who all these different
Mm,
people and villains were. I felt like it was kind of a Superman's greatest hits in a little bit of a way because there
it's true.
was, yeah, but
I didn't think you need to know too much.
mhm,
I like have watched the Superman movies, so I know like Lex Luthor, but beyond that, like did not know who those two random guys were, who we now know are
mhm.
Atlas and Samson, and apparently very important. Or that like these random four. But I think what was fun is that like even without knowing the full context of all these people, like it was still just a good story.
Yes,
Hmm.
and it was clever,
Yeah.
which I've always liked about Grant Morrison. I think he's very clever.
Yeah. What else have you read by Grant Morrison that you really like?
You, you know, well, okay, I'm going to show you how old I am. I really
That's
liked Animal Man when it came out,
okay.
right? What was that? The early 90s? Um,
Oh, that was that TV show.
oh, no, it was a comic book before
No, it
that.
was a
Oh,
comic book
okay.
It was
series.
a Grant Morrison comic book. It was one of his early work.
1988. It was
Wow, Ivy.
groundbreaking.
Yes, it was.
That's what. It's the first thing.
I mean,
Groundbreaking run.
I won't, Trisha. I won't say that was the year I was born. I won't say that.
No. Oh, no.
I
Well, I'd be
won't.
surprised if you were born before then, for sure.
All right, Trisha. If someone wanted to come meet you on a Sunday or get in touch with you on the internet, how would they do that, or where would they go?
Excellent. I'm a deacon in the Diocese of Rhode Island. I serve at St. Peter's and St. Andrew's Episcopal Church in Mount Pleasant in Providence, and we'd love to see you there. We have an English service at 10 a.m. every single Sunday, and we have a Spanish service at noon. You'll definitely see me at the Spanish service. I'm super involved in that one. We also have a food pantry on Saturday mornings, and folks can come volunteer if they want to help set up the food pantry. You can find us at our St. Peter's, St. Andrew's website for sure. I love that church. I've only been in Providence since June of 2024, so I'm still finding my way.
All right. Well, we hope you stay a lot longer.
Yeah.
Because you're absolutely wonderful. You are a delight.
Oh, well, thank you. I intend to.
And next season, X-Men and Quantum Leap.
Oh, that'll be so
Wait,
fun.
we should do an Animal Man. We're gonna
And Animal Man.
Oh my
We're
gosh,
gonna
I have to
like you.
drag out my old Animal Man. I might have to buy it again. I don't even know where it is.
Readallcomics.com, everybody. That's how I read all of these this season.
or your local library.
My kind husband would loves to do this, so he's like, "Oh, of course, I'll buy you, the
Oh.
hardback."
Or get a
Wonderful.
husband.
Wonderful. Okay. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks so much.
Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
I'm going there to see my father. I'm going there no more to roam. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home. I'm going there to see my Savior, to sing his praise forevermore. I'm only going over Jordan. I'm only going over home.
Thank you for listening to Tea Time Theology, a ministry of St. John's Cathedral in Rhode Island. We would like to thank our producers, Ivy Swinsky and Taylor Wilkie. Special thanks to Mariah Akande and David Hines for this season's music. Additionally, we would like to thank our sponsor, the Episcopal Diocese of Rhode Island, and the Right Reverend Nicholas Knisley, as well as our guests today. Follow us at Tea Time Theology on all social medias.